Okay, here we go. We're ready. We're ready. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Dallas Hardcastle, and in this episode of Dallas TV are the 4 key areas, the 4 pillars of being able to recognize body language, how these things can really affect the way a conversation is, the way you can have high energy, emotional conversations, conflict, and these really crucial conversations. And the mind is talking and illustrating through the body and what this means to you. But first, I would like to dedicate this episode to you, my friends. I appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate all of the emails, all of the calls, all of the input that we receive from you, all of the questions that we continuously get from you. So thank you very, very much for all of this. Now, the thing we need to remember with body language, and especially with these 4 key areas, is that our body is speaking what the mind is thinking. All of these things really play key roles in this dance that goes on with how our brains are constantly communicating through our bodies with these movements and with the things that we're doing. When we go from the small piece to the big piece, it's this massive incremental difference that we get to experience rather than when we just kind of dabble in something, we just learn kind of that just enough to be dangerous, that 10 or 20%, and know a little bit about crossing our arms, or maybe, if someone's going to lean back away from their desk, that we should lean back away from their desk. There's so much more to this, and it can really create these communication breakthroughs. And people that use this from the interrogators of the world, but my gosh, salespeople like crazy, when they are expert body language readers, when they're experts in this area, these are the best salespeople in the world, because not only can they just sell like crazy, because they can really, really tell what's going on in the buyer's minds, but when they're trying to sell an idea, when a leader is selling an idea to a person, to a room, to a boardroom, to a shareholder meeting, they are experts at being able to do this. The first pillar of body language is if somebody is an illustrator. Illustrators are things that we do to punctuate our speech. It's to punctuate the way our brain is thinking. So, you can look at it in a number of different ways. That if you go into a sports bar and you see people going, yeah, and the fist pumping in the air, or if somebody is on a phone call these days and you see somebody on a Bluetooth, and they can be in a room all by themselves, and you'll see them, doing things and making these motions and making these faces and doing all these different things that are going on. These are different ways that people are illustrators, different ways that they're punctuating a thought, that they're punctuating a sentence, something that's going on in their brain. These could be really strong things to be able to learn, because when these are things that they do regularly, or they do when it's just a good emotion, a good illustrator, or a bad negative illustrator, it can really help you to see that if this is something that really, maybe that on the outside they're making it seem like it's okay, but really on the inside they're illustrating on this negative point, it really is upsetting them and it's bothering them, but they're just maybe too afraid to say something out loud. The second thing are things called regulators. These are ways that we actively, that we can overtly regulate a conversation. That if you see someone that's doing this, telling you to hurry up, or they're going like this, and they're trying to draw more things out, or they're trying to, say let's lengthen this thing, or let's lock it up and throw away the key. These are different regulators that people can use. But when you see someone using a regulator and some of these different things that maybe they'll do, that these can be areas that you can see, again, that if they're in positive regulator modes, or if they're in these negative regulator modes, if they're going to use these regulators to try to encourage, good behavior, or if they're going to use these to try to discourage some kind of a bad behavior. So when you see a regulator then used in an extreme example, high emotion, that regulator is being anchored, kind of being tied to something that's positive, something that's good. But then you can also, at another time, when something's at a negative regulator and it's at the high emotion time, you can see that regulator really come out. But then you can also sometimes see when it's at a less emotion time and that maybe you're really trying to read what's going on with the conversation, and then all of a sudden that regulator comes back out again, and it's not as emotional of a time, but you've seen that being repeated, it all of a sudden lets you know that they're back thinking in some kind of maybe in a darker or a poor emotional state.